All right, here we go again. Carter Page, foreign policy advisor to Donald Trump during the 2016 campaign. FISA warrant out for him back in 2016 near the end of the election has now become public. They did a Freedom of Information request to find out what was in that warrant. A lot of it is redacted because that's where the red media is. That's where all the different evidence is for how he cooperated. Now, who did he cooperate with? Well, they say he was a foreign agent and he cooperated and colluded with the government of Russia. Of course, of course. So it's hundreds of pages long, and the Republicans had said, oh, it's, of course, led by Donald Trump. It's a witch hunt, and I can't believe they got a warrant on someone who is in Donald Trump's campaign. Well, they got a warrant because they had hundreds of pages of evidence that he was a foreign agent working for the Russian government. They submitted it to a court. The court looked at it and said, oh, yeah, go ahead and wiretap him and do whatever you got to do, because it is likely that he is a foreign agent working for the Russians while working on a presidential campaign. Now, by the way, it doesn't mean that Donald Trump knew about it. It could be that he worked on that campaign and was a foreign agent unbeknownst to Donald Trump or others, right? And I'm not even saying that he's absolutely guilty. That's why we have a justice system. Go through the process, go to court, and see what happens, right? But for the people saying that there's no evidence, they've got hundreds of pages of evidence. For the people saying there's no connections to the Russians on the Donald Trump campaign, preposterous. Not only have 26 Russians already been arrested in the overall investigation, and then you got Maria Butina, who was the one Russian agent that we caught here and is in prison right now, denied bail. She apparently tried to get jobs with Republicans by having sex with them, because that probably would work. And apparently worked well enough for her handlers in Russia to be thrilled with her work. Anyone claiming there's no evidence I'm sorry, it's just not true. You've borderline nearly lost your mind. If you think, hey, it's not enough to start World War III, of course, I totally agree with you. Don't start any wars. Okay, but we have to actually ascertain what happened. And then finally, to the insane right-wingers who say that the FBI is making all this stuff up and the special counsel is making it up. So, your thesis is, they just pick Carter Page out of the blue. They're like, all right, let's do maybe a little bingo or lottery or something. Oh, look, his Carter Page's name came up among the different people on the Trump team during the campaign. So let's take Carter Page and let's make up all this evidence and claim that he's a foreign agent for Russia when there's actually none of that evidence. Let's just make it all up, and then let's go to the judge and say, hey, we're launching a conspiracy. By the way, this is before Donald Trump got elected. So on the off chance that Donald Trump gets elected, would you like to be part of this conspiracy where we all endanger our careers by making up stuff that isn't true just out of whole cloth? Okay, if you believe that, you're not attached to the reality-based world. I have seen them manipulate intelligence 1,000 times over. Most famously, in the lead up to the Iraq War, we were among the only shows in America that called it out. The Young Turks were around back then, and Ben and I were screaming when we were on the radio saying, it's not true, look at all the intelligence. Back then, there was a lot of intelligence officials that were not getting covered on the front pages, but were getting attention on page A17 or with great outlets like McClatchy and Knight Ridder that were saying, no, this is the real evidence, and it's a mixed bag, and we reported that back then. Okay, and you could see Dick Cheney manipulating the evidence. You could see him say absurd things like, well, Iraq is in the part of the region of the world that attacked us. But no, 15 out of the 19 hijackers came from Saudi Arabia. But you claim they're our top ally. When you're attacking Iraq, which is its neighbor, that makes no sense. So I've seen this before, and this isn't like that. They have overwhelming evidence. And there's no one in the intelligence community who disagrees. And they're not all going to get together and make up a random lie. If the neocons have an agenda, if certain people have an agenda, you can see that from a mile away. And some people will agree, some people will disagree. This is not that. Everyone that has looked at the evidence agrees. Carter Page, they believe, was a foreign agent, and there has been a ton of connections to the Trump campaign and now, unfortunately, to the Trump administration as well. But this latest one is pretty damning as usual.